Excellent. Hi, folks. How you doing? My name is Ronan Kennedy, and I am an executive coach. I'm going to do a presentation with you today. I'm going to talk you through the idea of pitching yourself, selling yourself, if you will, and pitching your business. Now, this is a topic that's very difficult or very tricky for a lot of business owners or a lot of professionals throughout their career because we just feel a little bit strained. We just feel a little bit awkward about selling ourselves or about coming across as too braggadocious or too full of ego, whatever it might be. So this topic is really, really important so that we can not just overcome this challenge, but also learn how to sell ourselves, learn how to sell our businesses. I'm going to walk through specific examples and I'm going to talk you through some tools, some approaches you can use. And also, I want you to really remember throughout this that it's not really just about telling people who you are or what you do so that you can make money and sell yourself. It's really about building those relationships that are going to last decades so that you can continue to add value and you can enjoy the journey in the process. So that's what this is all about. It's really selling yourself in a way that you feel comfortable about so that you can build relationships with the right people, your ideal clients, and so that you can both enjoy your journey together. So, some of the key topics we will cover today is about crafting the pitch in both a formal and an informal way. Obviously, there's moments like if you have to pitch to a bank or if you have to pitch to an investor, it's quite a formal pitch. But then there's also moments when maybe you're at an informal networking event or you're at a coffee chat, and it's more informal pitches required. So it's good to be able to switch between those two different modalities so that you can convey yourself in the best way and build those relationships. Because imagine if it was just like super formal and people are like, well, I know that you're pitching to me and it feels uncomfortable because now I feel like I either have to sell or reject you. So we don't want to do that. Then it's also about understanding client problems. So obviously, when you understand the client problems on a deeper level, you're able to speak to those problems. You're able to incorporate the solutions to those problems into your pitch, and then that just makes it land even better and resonate with the audience even more. We'll also talk about demonstrating results, so the metrics, the outcomes that you've delivered, past successes, and maybe achievements for clients. We'll talk about a structure and a service of your offering. So how do you put that together? Only go into that briefly today, but it's really about when you are pitching your service that you're able to talk people through the various steps they need to use in terms of like describing how a service works. What is the 3 or 4 steps that people go through so they can visualize it and then they can continue to engage. Because what we know is that when people are confused or they're uncertain about something, the answer is usually no. So if they say what are the steps and they can't understand it, then often they'll move on. We'll talk about building credibility through social proof, testimonials, case studies, so on. How you can provide guarantees, irresistible offers so that people absolutely want to sign up or they absolutely want to get involved and there's no reason to say not to. And then we'll also answer that question of, so tell me about yourself. What's your background? How did you get into this? All that kind of good stuff. So moving on, the first key thing that often stumps people is that question, what do you do? And it's like, oh no, now I have to put on my professional voice and my professional demeanor and answer this in a really good way. And I know I should have it in my mind, but I don't. So to be able to deal with this well is really important. So what do you do? The dreaded question. Well, here's a formula to kickstart that for you. We can start with this very simple sentence: I or we help, and then you insert your target customer so then the person you're pitching to or the group you're pitching to understands if they are the target customer or not. Achieve, I help target customer achieve desired outcome. So whatever it is they want, or maybe it's 2 or 3 things they want, by unique solution. So I help target customer achieve desired outcome by unique solution. So it's what you do, who you do it for, and then what the result of that is. Now, you want to make this specific. Obviously, one of the biggest challenges people have is they say, well, my customer is everybody. Your customer isn't everybody. You cannot target everybody. And there's no way everybody wants what you have unless you're selling water. But even then, not everyone buys water. So it's about understanding exactly who your target customer is, their specific desired outcome, and then the unique solution that you provide. Here's an example. I help business owners, consultants, freelancers, and solopreneurs achieve consistent growth, focus, and accountability by combining expert facilitation, peer learning, and community support in a 75-minute entrepreneurial mastermind. Okay, so you can see there, I'm talking about what I do. And then the exact target audience, I'm talking about business owners, consultants, freelancers, and solopreneurs. And then what do they get out of it? Consistent growth, focus, and accountability. Now, you might add an extra step because people often say, well, okay, I understand the idea of consistent growth, accountability, facilitating, weekly sessions, but how does that even work? So then just in my case, adding in that extra bit at the end in a weekly 75-minute entrepreneurial mastermind is crucial. It just gives people a very clear idea of what's on offer, who the right type of person is, and what they can expect to get out of it. So what is it for you? Is it you, or is it a group of people? So is it I, or is it we? Who do you help? Who's your target audience, right? And if you can be as specific as possible, that's ideal. And then what are the results or the outcomes that they can hope for? If it's unclear how that works, it can be useful, as in my case, it's unclear. So it can be useful to add in a bit more clarity by saying exactly what the structure is: 75-minute weekly entrepreneurial mastermind. Now, that might be very formal depending on the person you're speaking to. That's why it's always nice to have an informal approach. So I might say, in other words, I facilitate a weekly mastermind session where business owners can get together, get support, and grow their business with like-minded entrepreneurial people. Like, we jump on a weekly Zoom call and we chat to each other about our check-ins, our wins, our achievements, our action steps for the week. And often we discuss any challenges or struggles we have. So you can see, when I'm describing it in that way, it's a little bit more informal, it's a little bit more personal, and hopefully you really feel like I'm speaking to you, not just giving a pitch and trying to sell very explicitly to you. So a good exercise is to write down the formal version of what your pitch is. I'll go back to that now so you can see it again. Right? I help target customers achieve desired outcome by unique solution. And you can also add in an informal pitch, which is just describing it as you would to a friend or to a contact or to a family member. Now, in my case, I also like to add a personal touch. That's where it's like I'm showing a bit of emotion, or I'm taking it to the next level because I really want to communicate with you that, we're just having a conversation and I really want to get you a sense of who I am and what it's about. So I might say something like, and it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to stay connected to each other, stay connected to other business people. And it's great to give people a sense of camaraderie and peer support. Sure, it's all about the journey at the end of the day, right? So hopefully you're getting a sense that, yeah, this is more than just a pitch. This is an informal, emotional connection. I'm getting to know another human, essentially, rather than just someone trying to sell to me. So what is your formal pitch? What is your informal pitch? And what is a personal touch that you could add? What do you say to your friends? How do you describe your business or your professional work to your friends? And that is a sort of touch that you can put in at the end. And what it does is it breaks down the barriers between getting to know someone as a business person and getting to know somebody as a human. Now, you really want to expand on that pitch, because as you go through various events and so on, and various pitches and conversations with investors and conversations with potential clients, you're going to want to expand on it because there's going to be more questions that come up. So the expanded pitch is a way to expand your one sentence pitch into a more detailed paragraph, and then into a one pager, so that you've got almost a script for describing exactly what you do and how you do it. So when expanding it, you want to think of a couple of key questions, like, what are the functional, emotional, and social problems of your client? Now, don't worry, I'll go into those in a bit more detail because it's worth thinking through those. What results do you offer, and what results have you delivered so far? So, as you know, it's not good enough to just say, well, we've delivered loads of results for clients and they're very happy with what we do. You want to talk about specific metrics. You want to talk about case studies. You want to have testimonials and so on. Um, so what results? What's the structure of your service? How does it work? What are the 3 or 4 steps that people go through in order to engage your service so that they can have a clear visualization of what's going to happen? Um, what are the reviews, the testimonials, or other proof of value that you have that we know this works, that it's a tried and tested solution? And what's your irresistible offer that people can avail of? So, crucial to have that irresistible offer so that in the conversation or in the pitch, people feel like I can sign up right now and I want to sign up right now. And so there's no delay, there's no friction, or there's no barriers to overcome there. So, when thinking about your client's core problems, we can break them down into three separate groups. There's functional problems, there's emotional problems, and there's social problems. Now, functional problems are practical challenges that hinder someone's progress. Like maybe they struggle to make sales, maybe they find it hard to sell themselves, which is what this presentation is about. Maybe they struggle to solve financial challenges, or maybe they find it very difficult to make lots of decisions. What are the functional problems? Like, what are the very, very practical things that your clients or your customers struggle with? So here's an example. I constantly feel overwhelmed. There's so much to do and so many decisions to make. I hate having to sell myself. So they are functional problems that they can be dealt with in a functional way by understanding uh, a good structure for making decisions and understanding a good structure and process for selling yourself and preparing that. An emotional problem is how we feel, obviously. So how do people feel when they have the problem that you deal with? Do they feel stressed? Do they feel anxious? Do they feel frustrated? Does it bring up insecurities they have? So if so here's an example. The blend of financial insecurity or uncertainty, long hours and emotional pressure leaves me feeling anxious about the future. So the emotion is anxiety and the emotion is uncertainty. So being able to deal with those. So how can you deal with those? You can calm someone's emotions, you can calm their anxieties, you can provide them with certainty, and you can provide them with a place to vent their stress or vent their challenges. Then there's also social problems. So, how do the social problems impact your clients' relationships, their status in society, their reputation amongst their friends and their peers? Does it make them feel like they're doing enough, that they are good enough? Does it make them feel insecure or inferior? In which case, they are social problems that need to be dealt with by you and by the solution that you provide. So, for example, business can be such a lonely endeavor. Just having a group to share your struggles with that understands your pain is so good. So that's somebody expressing the isolation or the loneliness they have, which is a social problem. And so when you think about these functional, emotional, and social problems, we can put these into an expanded version of our pitch. We can incorporate them into questions so that you're able to better convey and resonate exactly what people need to hear when they're learning about your business and when they're learning about what you've got to offer. So, what are the functional, emotional, and social problems that your clients or your customers have? You can, when you write the answers to those, you can use that on your website, on your marketing materials. You can use that in conversations with them, and it's going to resonate. It's going to land so much better than anything that's not specific or doesn't deal with those. It's like saying exactly what they want you to say at the right moment. So that's why it's so important. So write down the one functional, one emotional, and one social problem that your clients have. This will be part of your overall sales script. It will work on your website, your social media channels, and some people will even create social content based on these uh, on these types of problems, so that they know it's resonating exactly with their target audience. Now, what results do you offer? What results have you delivered so far? So people might be like, yeah, you're definitely speaking to the challenges I have. You're definitely talking about me as your target audience. So they might be basically saying, well, everything seems good so far, and you seem like a nice and reasonable person to do business with. But what are the specific outcomes, the measurable achievements, the success stories, or the case studies that you can show me or you can tell me about to demonstrate the results of what you've done? Like, is there a track record, or are you just talking a really good game? So we want to see proof, right? That makes total sense. So write down specific results you've delivered so far. Like, you can do this in two different ways, right? You can talk about the qualitative, that is like the satisfaction, the happiness, the opinions that people have. You can talk about it in a qualitative way, or you can talk about it in a quantitative way. So I've worked with this amount of people, or we've delivered this amount of results, or we've done it for this amount of years, or we've delivered this amount of products and we've got this level of satisfaction rating. Now, some people will say, well, the challenge I have is that often I'll send out um, I'll send out a certain amount of products, or I'll work with a certain amount of people, but I can't always get the results back very clearly. So it's difficult for me to measure exactly what the impact on the results are. Well, in that case, what you can do is you can measure the actions that you're taking. So you can see here, uh, I've done over 4,000 hours of one-to-one coaching sessions. So I can measure the exact actions that I've taken in that case. I can measure the years of experience I have. I can measure the amount of clients I've served. They're all action-orientated um, results. And then the client satisfaction rate is obviously the quantitative element. That's measuring the impact of all of that work. So ask yourself, are you measuring the qualitative and the quantitative? And you want to measure the actions you've taken or the results that you have gained. So what's the structure of your service? So for example, our mastermind program is designed to deliver consistent growth and accountability through a clear, structured methodology. Here's how clients experience working with us. So people will often say, well, all this sounds good. Like, I'm really interested in your mastermind. I'm really interested in getting involved and trying it. How does it work? Like, how do I get started, basically? And so you want to have four good steps. In this case, I've said, well, you make an application to see if you're the right kind of person and if it's going to be a good fit for you. Then we have an initial call. That's like a chemistry call to, check uh, if you feel like it's the right place for you. If you want to ask me any questions, then then you join the community and you introduce yourself with a welcome text. And then finally, you can start engaging in the weekly masterminds. So you've done that whole onboarding process from making an application, having a chat with me, joining the community and introducing yourself and getting to know a few other people, and then doing the session itself and testing it, seeing if it's the right fit for you, seeing if you've enjoyed it and if you're getting a benefit from it. So that way people know there's a clear structure they can follow. They know what to expect. Basically, we all want that certainty of what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, who's going to deliver it, and so on. So that's a key part to have. Now, if you're not sure where to start with that, because you might say, well, there's a million ways I could describe my structure. A great way to start is by these four steps. Understand, plan, implement, and evaluate. So, what's the first thing that they need to understand? What's the thing they need to plan? What do they need to implement? And then, what is the evaluation? There's usually the four steps of any type of activity or project. So, in this case, make an application is like understand if they're the right fit. Plan is like plan whether or not the mastermind is going to work for you, and ask questions back and forth and see if it's going to fit into your calendar. Then it's like implement, join the community, introduce yourself, get started. And then it's like engage in the sessions and evaluate if they work for you or not. And then you can decide from there, you can evaluate from there if you should go forward. So write out the four steps of your process as part of your overall pitch, as being able to sell yourself, being able to sell your business. What do you need to understand, plan, implement, and evaluate? Building credibility, the power of social proof. So, social proof is a tool that validates that other people have done this, other people have enjoyed it, and they've given feedback. It makes it feel real, it makes it feel tangible. And we all want to jump on board something that's already working well. We don't necessarily always want to be the first people to test everything. Sometimes we do, but most of the times we don't. So being able to collect diverse proof from different people, having a systematic way of collecting it, and then being able to showcase it on your social media, being able to showcase it on your website, and being able to tell people about those case studies or those stories. It helps to cultivate trust. So reviews and testimonials are a clear way of doing it. You can ask previous clients to give you a review or a testimonial. You can use a third-party site like Google Reviews or Trusted Reviews. And you can also ask for video testimonials. Now, often video testimonials are a bit trickier because there's more involved. You have to ask them to record something, or you have to record it for them. But a text testimonial is usually very straightforward, and it shows that bit of social proof. Do you have any guarantees or warranties? So when you're selling yourself and people are interested, or you're pitching your business, being able to show the confidence in your product or your offer or your service to say, we're going to guarantee you're going to get the results, is so powerful, because it leaves no doubt, and no reason for somebody not to get involved. So if you can offer them a 7-day guarantee, or a 30-day guarantee, or a money back guarantee, or a delivery or satisfaction guarantee, meaning you just keep going and you deliver, you keep doing the work until they get the result. That is super, super powerful. You're committing to giving them satisfaction no matter what. Essentially, you're reversing the risk, because one of the key obstacles or blockers for any of us getting involved in something is feeling like there's risk involved. But if you reverse that risk by saying, well, if you try this, I'm going to guarantee that you're going to get the result. Or if you try this and you don't like it, I'm going to give you 7 days or 30 days to get your money back. Then you're showing a different level of commitment to them. You're reversing the risk, and you're giving them no reason to object or not to try it. And that's very powerful for your target audience. If it's not your target audience, probably they'll hesitate. Now, if they do hesitate, you still have an irresistible offer. So, an irresistible offer is something that is of value, that your target audience wants, that it doesn't make sense for them not to avail of. So, imagine it's a hot day and somebody's giving out free water or a free drink. Well, it doesn't make sense for you not to accept that free water if it's a hot day and you're walking past. That is an irresistible offer. So it has to have the core value. It has to drive action. You want to maximize the perceived value so people can really see, well, this is not just something free, but this is something that normally I would expect to pay for. And then you want to guide them clearly. In other words, you want to be specific and make an exact ask. So often people just don't make the ask when they're pitching themselves or when they're selling their business. You have to make the ask. So click this link, sign up today if you're interested, or let's have a phone call next Tuesday at 10 a.m. and we can discuss this further. Or why don't we start on Friday, and then you can test it for yourself and see if it's the right fit for you. So make that irresistible offer. It's got to be of inherent value. It's got to be something they would normally pay for, and there has to be no friction or no reasons for them to say no. So you can feel that we're building momentum, and then we're expanding this one-page pitch for yourself by adding in the testimonials, the guarantees, the irresistible offer, the results, the the explanation of the service, the structure of the steps. All these different elements of your pitch are going to make it so strong that people have total clarity, and they know exactly who to come for if they have these challenges. On top of that, remember, we're also talking about the functional, social, and emotional problems that they have. So everything you say is going to resonate really, really strongly with those. Now, moving on to the personal side. If you're in a networking event, or you're having a conversation with somebody, or maybe it's a more informal coffee chat, they might say, well, all this sounds like super interesting. This is fascinating to hear the journey that you've been on. Can you tell me about yourself? Like, what's your background? And in that case, you can outline your professional background and your USP. So, what is your unique selling point? Why are you the perfect person to run this business? Or why are you the perfect person to take on this role or this responsibility? So, a couple of elements that you'll want to highlight is your skills, your strengths, your achievements, your abilities. So if your skills are in project management, or they're in client relationship management, or maybe your skills are looking after children or building software development apps, maybe your skills are being a personal stylist and you understand everything from hair and makeup to, fashion and shoes, or or something else, right? Maybe you're a super good handyman and you understand everything from plumbing to carpentry to household maintenance overall. So what are your skills? What are your strengths, your achievements, and your abilities? One of your strengths could be the years of experience that you've been working in the area, or it could be your ability to source materials at a good price. It could be your connections in the industry. An achievement could be the amount of years that you've been delivering results for people, or it could be a specific project where you really went above and beyond on something. And then your abilities. Maybe you have an ability to get to the root cause faster and more accurate than anyone else. So, what is an ability that you have? Then you can talk about some other elements, like really expand that out further. Talk about your responsibilities, the success factors, your biggest learnings of your career, and your soft skill. So responsibility, for example, could be, the responsibility for the end-to-end product development of a new line of products, or responsibility for managing the new features and ensuring that the users are accepting them and using them and enjoying them and getting the most out of them. So the user acceptance testing could be one of your big responsibilities. And then like a key thing to like sprinkle in there somewhere is a success factor. So success factor is like what allows you to do this especially well. So let's say you're doing software development and you're trying to introduce a new feature or introduce a new product or introduce a new package or a new app or a new website. If you're very good at conducting user research interviews and you're very good at listening to people and collecting information there, you could say, well, then that is a success factor that you have. You're very good at listening, getting the right information, allowing users to speak, um, and that is a success factor in you running this software development business or this website business or whatever it might be. So you can also outline your education. Maybe you've done a degree or a master's. Maybe you're especially passionate about it, or you've got unique knowledge, which could be a language that you've learned, or it could be a particular tool that you've learned how to use, and so on. So this is really about highlighting your background, your unique selling points, and coming at it from lots of different angles so that you can easily sell what you do, how you do it, and why you're the right fit for this. Um, so write out your professional brand using these titles and these headings. Add details and be as specific as you can, and that way you'll be able to relate it to other people whenever you get a chance. Now, some people will still say, that's a bit tricky, but I'm going to show you how to speak, not just say that in a formal way or write it in a formal way on LinkedIn, but say it in a way that sounds humble, because often we feel like we're too braggadocious or we're selling ourselves too much. Well, you want to be able to sell it in a way that you feel humble and you feel good about it. Here's an example from my career. I'm an executive coach and business mentor with over a decade of experience working with ambitious professionals at all stages of their careers and in all different industries. I also run a mastermind for ambitious business owners where we meet for 75 minutes a week to discuss their wins, challenges, updates, and action steps. I've delivered workshops in London, Madrid, Berlin, Dublin for companies like Ernst & Young, Squarespace, the Local Enterprise Office, Strong Roots, and the College of Psychiatrists in Ireland. I've been published in the Journal, the Irish Times, the Irish Examiner, and been featured on Ireland AM, Ortiz, The Business, News Talks, Down to Business, and various other podcasts. I've also written 7 ebooks, hosted a podcast, developed an online course, and produced over 200 videos for YouTube. So you can see I'm coming at the profile from various different angles, but I'm clearly outlining what I do and how I do it. Now, how to sell yourself and sound humble. Here are a couple of phrases that you can use to sell yourself and sound humble. So, my role currently involves taking responsibility for, let's say, managing projects, liaising with clients, or developing the core features of the product, or sourcing manufacturers in Asia. I had the opportunity to work with a great team, which allowed me to, and then you can insert and achievement there. So I had the opportunity to work with a great team, which allowed me to deliver 50% increase in productivity and a 20% increase in sales over a 2-year period. Okay, so adding that phrase in before softens it up a little bit. I've really worked hard over the past few years to develop a mastermind and an online community that's really going to be productive, engaging, useful for business owners, freelancers, solopreneurs, and creators. I've been fortunate enough to work with uh, ambitious clients who are highly engaged and growth orientated. And I think that's why they get the best results when they come to me, is because they're so ready to work. They're so enthusiastic and they're so hardworking that if you give them space to think, if you listen to them, if you ask them the right questions, you can ultimately get the absolute best results for them. And so on, luckily after some trial and error. So these are some nice phrases you can use to promote yourself, to promote your business while staying humble. Now, a pro tip is, if you're talking one to one with somebody, you might also want to discuss a struggle. You might also want to show a bit of vulnerability, because this often builds trust and relatability. If you hear somebody just telling you why they're great for 10, 15, or 20 minutes, and it's just like this ongoing monologue, you might feel like, oh, it seems like they're perfect or they've got no flaws. But you're much more relatable when you also discuss struggles, or you discuss challenges, or you discuss things that maybe haven't gone well, or mistakes. Then it feels like, oh, we're talking to a human, and I can buy into that a lot more, and my trust goes up, even though they've told me about a mistakes, or they've told me about a struggle, because I always believe that they've got a struggle or that there's a mistake somewhere along the line. So now I trust them even more because they've told me about it. So sharing a struggle to build rapport and relatability is key. So, for example, here's one of mine. I find switching hats very tricky. I know it's a key part of my role, but sometimes I find myself think about the last task when I should be focusing on what's right in front of me. So in my business, I have to do some financial stuff, I have to do some operation stuff, some marketing stuff, some uh, admin stuff, and obviously tons of client work. And I find that very tricky to switch between all these different hats. So I think that just makes me human, but it's a very real struggle. Now, next is talking about why this is important to you. So what is your personal mission, your vision, your values? What drives you? What makes you excited about this? And how does this align with your life goals? So now you're talking more on you could almost say a spiritual level when you're talking about mission, vision, values. You're asking people to really tap into what's most important to them, what's most important to you, and show you why this is so important. This goes beyond earning an income. This goes beyond having a salary. It goes beyond having a job. You're talking about your mission, your vision. For me, when I work with clients who are changing careers, or they're starting a business, or they're developing their business, I've always believed that our working life is one of the most important challenges that we have to deal with. And giving people opportunities to do that on their own terms is very powerful. Also, I know that if they learn the tools to do this themselves, it will impact every other part of their lives. So, like, I really believe that. I really believe that, we spend like 40, let's be honest, 50 or 60 hours a week working, and being able to deal with the work challenges effectively is so important. Because if you have a good day at work and you're earning well and you have good relationships with your clients and your colleagues, then your personal life is usually better. You're in a better state financially, your confidence is better, and also you've developed tools at work which are super useful for your personal life then as well. So that's always been a part of the mission that I have had, and the values that I bring. Whereas I feel this is hugely transferable, but I also feel like work is a really great way of learning the tools to transfer to your personal life. And it just forces us to show up every day and to develop our skills, our technical skills, our commercial skills, our interpersonal skills. So I've always believed that's super important. So when you think about the mission, the vision, the values for who you are and what you do, how do you describe that? How do you describe that to other people so they can see why you're so keen about what you do? For example, if you're a designer, you might say, so I'm super visual. I think it's so important to have beautiful websites, or to have beautiful projects, or sorry, beautiful products that light up a room, that make people feel, make people feel warm and fuzzy, or make people feel inspired. Or I like to develop pictures that I like to take pictures that give people a lasting memory of their wedding or their birthday or a celebration. Whatever it is, if you can tap into that, you're going to connect with people on more of a spiritual level, and that's going to resonate very, very strongly. So that is our presentation for today. This is recorded, so it's going to be on YouTube after that if you want to go back and watch it again. But we talked about crafting your pitch, doing it in a formal and an informal way. We talked about connecting with people emotionally so that um, they get a sense of who you are. So putting some of your emotions into your pitch as well. We talked about understanding client problems, like their functional problems, their social problems, and their functional problems, their social problems, and I can't remember the third one. We also talked about demonstrating results. So showcasing your previous reviews, testimonials, metrics. We talked about the service structure, so understanding, planning, implementing, and evaluating, so that people understand the 3 or 4 steps that need to happen in order for them to engage you and engage your service. We talked about leveraging case studies, testimonials, and endorsements to build credibility. You can use those on your website, on your social media, on your LinkedIn. You can put them on a product page or a service page. We talked about having guarantees that reduce risk, or show people that you're so confident in what you do that they have nothing to worry about. You're guaranteeing it for 7 days or for 30 days. We talked about irresistible offers, where you tell somebody, well, if you're interested in this, this is the very next step you do. And there's no reason for you not to do it, because it inherently has value. It's something that you want, and you can get started today. The zero friction. So an irresistible offer could be a 15-minute phone call. It could be a free sample. It could be a test for a week or for a month. This is very typical in software development. And we also talked about your personal background. So being able to answer that question, who are you and what do you do? Tell me more about yourself. Being able to talk about your skills, your strengths, your responsibilities, your soft skills, your key achievements, your commercial acumen, all that sort of good stuff. Being able to put all that together in a package so that you can tell people in a formal way or in an informal way, but ultimately you can build a relationship with a client, with a customer, or with a potential investor, so that they feel that you're a trustworthy, reliable person who's got a strong background, who understands the functional, emotional, and social challenges of their clients, and has a solution that's tried and tested and can work for them. That's what that's all about. So that is our webinar for today. Thank you so much for watching, for attending, for your attention. If you've any questions, you can pop them into the comments, and I'll get back to you. And next week, I'll be doing another webinar live. So you're welcome to join then, and we can chat more. Okay. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.